Some people pick the Googly on the scramble seam, so I try to keep them both scrambled.
Conventional leg spinner will sit the ball in sort of in those two fingers.
So flipper, again, this is very good drill for flipper.
Watch these leg spin videos and more, which I've filmed with professional players and coaches.
So the leg spinner for me, you can vary sort of where that finger, that middle finger sits. So for me, it's actually a little bit wider than probably a conventional leg spinner. So conventional leg spinner will sit the ball in sort of in those two fingers upwards, those two fingers down, and looking to spin the ball with that ring finger. Now my grip's a little bit more split, whether that's because of my height or something, it allows me to get over the top of the ball a little bit more. Particularly in the white ball, I get a little bit more pace when I spin it off that middle finger as well. So that's sort of come into my red ball as well. So that grip's pretty consistent across all formats for me. And I'm basically looking to keep that the back of the hand facing myself on the way through. So when that ball is at release, I want the back of my hand facing my head, and then I'm spinning that over the top for the leg spin. And then for the Googly, two different grips that slightly vary. So I've got the same grip as the leg spinner there with those that little split there, spinning it off the middle and the ring finger. Now instead of where the leg spinner you want the back of your hand facing sort of your body, I'm just rotating that round to get the back of the hand facing more towards the batsman. So the finger movement and the wrist movement still very similar. So that's rolling around, spinning it out the back. But those revs are going to now be pointing sort of towards a leg slip and fine leg line. Same grip again for me. So it's all these variations are just sort of manipulating the wrist on release. So we've gone from leg spin facing the back, facing the head, Googly facing the batsman. Now slider, I want that ball facing pretty much towards the batsman. So I'm coming over, still getting the revs as side spin or rolling through the fingers, very similar. But I want that ball spinning sort of sideways onto the batsman, so that's going to hopefully hit the pitch and just skid straight on. It's hard for that ball to sort of tack on the wicket when it's at that sort of angle. So Zooter type ball for me. Generally, if the ball's got a little bit of shine on it, I'll get the shine on this sort of inside, and I'm coming over the top similar. So I've rotated right around now to releasing the ball, sort of the ball facing my head. And that's just sort of spinning the ball out the front with a bit of backspin, so that's hopefully going to skid on. If it does have a bit of shine, it can swing in back towards the batsman as well. So just looking for hopefully a misread in length, whether they go back to one that's not quite as short because it's going to be a little bit flatter, and hopefully that just skids on and either hits the pad or through onto the stumps. So another slider type delivery for me, which I bowl more on the white ball. So I'll move that now to a cross seam, scrambled seam delivery when I'm looking to spin off my middle finger and onto that seam. Now this is similar to the slider, so I'm spinning it out the front again. There's a little bit more natural variation in this one. Whether that spins and catches the seam, it can kick, can get a bit of extra bounce. If it catches the face, it can skid on quite a lot. So similar type story to the slider and the Zooter. It's all about looking to make it difficult to read the length for the batsman. So whether they want to go back to a ball that's not quite short enough, because it's going to come on with a little bit of extra pace off the wicket, and hopefully just pick up pace and zip right onto the pad or onto the stumps. I'm still looking to bowl with the same action as the leg spinner. I'm still getting everything up and over. I don't want it to be too flat through the air, otherwise it's very easy to read. So I still want a little bit of up and down shape, but I'm getting that to hopefully drop a little bit onto a length, and skid through. So action-wise for me, I'm looking to everything in my action. I'm looking to get as many revs out of the ball as possible, and create as much dip, drift, and drop and all of that. So I want to, as a leg spinner, because you want a lot of side spin, it's easy to try and spin using the shoulders sideways. Now for me, I want to make sure that I'm working my shoulders as much up and down towards the batsman as possible. That's going to help create that sort of top spin on the ball. That's going to bring the ball down to drop and hopefully drift as well. And that's all the power, I think, in my action and through the ball comes from sort of the feet up. So as long as I've got a strong base at the crease, I'm staying nice and side on. So I want my front foot to be a little bit closed off towards like a fine leg line. If I can get it closed enough, it helps me to create a little bit of something to work against, to then whip the shoulders over. Stay nice and tall. You can vary sort of the height of your release, depending on if you want a little bit more top spin, you'll come a little bit higher, or a little bit more side spin, you might come a little bit lower. But the same basic action wants to be the same for all of that, with your shoulders working in a nice plane over, like a little catapult or slingshot, working towards the batsman to help sort of keep a consistency of your line. Yeah, and that top spin is going to help with your drift and drop. So
yeah, first thing is the run up. It's quite your own preference really. Shane Warne walked in, Rashid Khan runs in, both get wickets, so whatever suits you really. Me personally, I've always tried to run in because playing adults quite young, I needed pace, and I got some pace from momentum through the crease. My run-up's like 10 steps. I try walk a couple and then I run in the rest. Around the umpire, I start really running in a bit harder. And red ball, I try and slow down a bit because sometimes I do rush. But T20, white ball cricket, momentum is very important. So at the crease, one thing for a leg spinner is important is the angles. It's more literally you ball the same ball at a different angle makes the batsman think about something else. Some people talk about brace leg and a bent leg, but I never really paid attention to that. I think it's just own preference. But yeah, I think angles are important, especially to left-handers. You go very wide and very wide this side too. So same ball, different angles, makes the batsman think more. First is leg spinner. I hold the ball, 2 up, 2 down. Varies sometimes. Red ball, I just try and get on the seam. But white ball, I'll go scrambled. I always go scrambled white ball. So it's a bit. Some people pick the Googly on the scramble seam. So I try to keep them both scrambles. Just try and disguise it a bit more. Second one, Googly, same grip. Just try and come behind a bit more. It's over the top really. Third one is just a slider. It's like a back spinner. You just try and spin it backwards. It just comes out and just skids down. Skids on low. Flipper, still trying to work on this, master it more, but yeah, literally just click it out underneath. Comes out underneath, just does a similar job to the slider, but a bit more effective, a bit more quicker. The last one is just as a normal top spinner. It's not a full leg spinner, it's not a Googly either, it just comes out straight over the top. My leg spinners, I come quite over the top with my leg spin. Like you see, in Nas, they got Carvin Harrison, his leg spin comes out very nicely. He's got a proper nice leg spin. My leg spin is quite over the top. Googly, it's just practice. I think it takes a lot out your shoulder. It's a whole different type of twist. It's against what your shoulder actually wants to do. But yeah, the more you practice it, the better you'll get. Same with leg spin. Just try and find a rhythm for your shoulder to get used to. Once you get used to that, then it's just about where you want to bowl it, to be fair. Flipper, I'm still working on it. I bowl it in club games sometimes, not in a professional game just yet. But yeah, I think that's just more confidence. I think I can bowl it. It's all right, but yeah. Slider is just at the front, just try and shin the batsman. If he's a back foot player, I want to get him out on the back foot. I throw slider quite quick on the stumps. RVW bowled. But yeah, top spin. If he's a good sweeper, if I want more bounce or good spinning wicket and spinning a lot, just to hold its line, bowl a top spinner. I like bowling it to left-handers quite a bit too. So I think the biggest thing for a spinner is not actually bowling it; it's the mindset. Like you're going to get whacked, especially as a leg spinner. Sometimes when it goes wrong, it goes very wrong. When it goes well, it goes it looks very nice. But you have to be ready with getting whacked. Having a big heart, like just backing yourself really, especially under pressure. That's a massive thing too. Even in 4-day cricket, you're still trying to take wickets, but you're just trying to hold a length and line longer. Whereas if you go to T20s and T20s especially, you're just trying to get hit less runs, finding a way to get out your over 6-7 runs. And obviously, if you'll get wicket on bats mistakes, and if you get one, then you'll go for another one. That's different. But the main goal in T20 is to go for as less runs as possible. 4 days, try to hold a length and line as long as possible, get the batsman bored. And 1 day is you can just work a batsman out, format out. You've got protection.
There are 4 fundamentals. You need to tick the boxes, I would say, when you're bowling. So there are A, B, C, and D. A is alignment. Make sure your run-up is going straight to the target. B is your balance, like athletic posture or rhythm, whatever your run-up is, slow or fast, as long as there's a rhythm. And C for your bowling circle, which is very, very important. And D for direction where you finish. The most important thing for spinner, your delivery stride, your back foot landing and the front foot landing, how you land in the crease. Like I said, for the batsman, it's a setup. For bowlers, especially for spinners, how you land in the crease. So I say, before you start your run-up, you should start your action from here, look at yourself, how you're landing, and then you can match, then you can reverse. So this is your delivery stride. Once your delivery stride is confirmed, then you can bowl with a 1 step and then come at the crease and try to land at the same position, how you balance position. And then you can do with the 2 steps and then 3 steps, and then as you go reverse your run up. Yes, some bowlers run, some bowlers they walk in, some bowlers they come with the angle. I'll discuss the angle later on. But the important thing is how you land. So compared to off spinner, leg spinner stride is a little bit big. So you can, doesn't matter if your front leg is bending or not, as long as you finish and you drive through your hip drive and your head is going towards the target. You can use different angles, so you can bowl from here as well, you can practice from here, doesn't matter, even you come round the wicket, you can bowl from here. So try to use the different angle and see what suits you. But again, I will come back to your setup, the bowling setup. Make sure it's balanced. As soon as your right leg or left leg goes here, your shoulder will drop to the point and then you'll unbalance. Or as soon as your stride is shorter, then you bowl like an off spinner. So make sure you are in the comfortable balanced position. How would you know this is the best stride for you? Very easy. Without the run out, make sure you don't even take 1 step. You just stand in the comfortable position and try to bowl, and this is your delivery stride. When you bowl with a run up, this stride will be a little bit bigger, but as long as it's balanced, should be fine. Okay, for the leg spinner, even for off spinner, as well as off spinner, they kick up, but the leg spinner, it's very, very crucial point. If you don't do the drive, your ball won't spin probably every ball, or you will not be consistent, or you will not spin the ball or your variation. So for the leg spinner, your drive is important. Some bowlers, they have a really high drive. Some bowlers, they have a very low drive, but without the drive, it will be impossible to complete the leg spin action, and you won't be able to get your variation as well. For example, Rashid Khan he run really fast and is a kind of a chest on bowler, so his drive is slightly lower compared to Shane Warne. Is a proper side on action. He walks in, it's a bit more shoulder and the drive, and his drive is very high. Doesn't matter, as long as you complete the drive, whether it's low or high, still good. Your front arm is very important for any bowler, especially for leg spinner. You need to bring your left arm. So ideally, if we have a helicopter view, before the ball, our shoulder should be aligned before we release the ball. I'll give you another example. Again, I reference Rashid Khan. If you see, look closely, before the ball, his shoulder comes here and then he bowl. Doesn't matter, he's a different bowler. He runs straight. At the same time, some bowlers, they have a straight run up, but before the ball, they don't bring their shoulder here and they end up bowling from here. Another reference I would like to give, Imran Tahir. So if your left shoulder is going here, then probably you can come from the side angle. If you're running this way, and look, where is your shoulder finishing? So you can bring your shoulder in line and then you can bowl. So make sure your upper half is aligned with the lower half. So again, we discuss about the upper half. So your front arm, some bowlers, they raise your left arm here, or some from here, mix action, some from side on. So lots of people, they ask me, where should your left arm should be? So finishing, I'm discussing the finishing here. So finishing is very important. You need to focus on this area from shoulder to your elbow instead of thinking about the hand. So make sure your shoulder, your arm and the shoulder finish close to your body. Some people, they say brush your left hand. Nothing wrong with that, but if you focus on this thing here, where is your shoulder, your arm is finishing, it will make a massive difference, and it's easy as well. You can focus. Probably some people, they hit the hand like this, but their left arm, their shoulder, you can see that my shoulder position is changed now. So as long as this arm is coming close to your leg or your shoulder in line, then that's fine. Some people, they finish here. Some people, they finish here, or some people, they brush their left arm here. But I would suggest to focus on this part. So again, lots of people, they ask me, your front leg should be bent or not. For leg spinner, doesn't matter. As long as your balance is going forward and you completing the drive, and your stride has to be balanced. So it doesn't matter. That's fine. Height doesn't matter as well. So don't worry about it. If you have a rhythm, if you have your weight is going forward and you completing the drive, that's fine. Okay, the first thing first, how you hold the ball, the grip. The most basic grip is 2 fingers down, 2 fingers up. But for me, I used to hold the ball into 3 finger. Some people I have seen, they hold the ball into 4 finger. Some hold the ball from this finger. But the important thing is you hit the ring finger or any finger. I give you reference like great Abdul Qadir. He used to hit all the fingers. How do you grip the ball? You grip very gentle. Make sure, compared to off spinner, they hold the grip really hard. But the leg spinner, you have to hold it really light, gentle, not too gentle. As long as you have a grip, you can hold the ball and you get the revs. I would recommend don't touch the thumb. If you touch the thumb, you can see my wrist position change as well, and it stopped doing the revs. Probably for the wrong end, I will discuss later. On the wrong end, you can, you can involve the thumb as well in the grip. But the easiest thing, as long as you can spin the ball, you can see that your seam position is fine. Another good method I can suggest, if I hold the ball 2 finger up, 2 finger down, my wrist position change, yeah? And if you see that, if I hold it like this, my revs are good. So whatever grip you do, you need to keep an eye on the revs as well. If you're holding the ball like this, then you can see that your revs scramble. So it doesn't matter when you spin the ball, the seam position good or not, but if your seam position is good, then it will help to get the dip and the drift. For the leg spin, when you do that, wrist position is very important. And lots of bowlers, leg spinner, they get confused and they say, look, we can't bowl the leg spin, even we tried. So the reason is that you need to lock your wrist. It's like a car wiper when you release the ball. You can see that. So your wrist will go from right to left when you release the ball. Yeah. And make sure you don't release the ball. As soon as your wrist will go up and down, whatever grip you have, whatever angle you use, the revs, you won't be able to bowl the leg spin. So make sure it's like a car wiper when you bowl the leg spin. You can see that my wrist position. So this grip is for wrong-un, or some people they say googly. When you bowl wrong-un, you can touch the thumb on the ball. It makes a massive difference. But I can also bowl wrong-un without using the thumb. As long as the ball is coming out from here. When you bowl the wrong-un, in the leg spin, I lock the wrist. When you bowl the wrong-un, your forearm, your elbow, your shoulder, everything get involved. So when you bowl the wrong-un, look at my forearm and the arm. It's actually turning. In the leg spin, I don't turn. I just use my wrist, hand, my arm stays at the same position. But when you bowl the wrong-un, my shoulder, from shoulder to wrist, everything move. Otherwise, you won't be able to bowl the wrong-un. If I try to bowl with wrong-un locking my arm, it's impossible. Probably you'll be able to bowl top spin, but you can't bring the ball out from there, or maybe from the wrist. The top spin and the leg spin grip is similar, the same grip, but the top spin come out from here. If the clock is behind you, I would say your leg spin arm will be like 5-2 position, but you bowl the top spin from 12 o'clock and the ball will come out from here. When you bowl the top spin, some balls won't spin much, maybe top spin. It depends, actually. It worked for me when you bowl with a cross seam. So my seam is going this way. Sometimes the ball doesn't bounce because I hit the shine, but most of the time I'm successful. I hit the seam at the ground. But if you don't, but if this is ideal, but on the windy condition, I would say I would avoid that, because the ball, if your seam position is straight, the ball can swing or drift either way. So flipper, again, this is very good drill for flipper. You can just do underneath your hand. This is very difficult delivery to bowl, but I would say if you can, try to learn this delivery, because this is, if you have the control on this delivery, you will get lots of wickets, because what the flipper does, it's difficult for batter to judge the length, and you get lots of wickets. I give you reference, Imran Tahir, I was listening, he said, as soon as I learned this delivery, after that my average improved, I start taking wickets, and my confidence level gone up as well.
Cricket Last Stories, Neil Kakram here with Archie Lenham, bowling to Muhammad Rizwan. What are you going to bowl?
Go a quick leggy, hopefully pitch her about middle. One. Two. Googly. Oh yeah. One more. Two. Oh. Shit, Rizzy, drafting, drifting. Ball is drifting. Archie, 1 runs. Yes. Oh. Yeah, but you do something different, huh? Yeah. Come on, Rizzy. Oh. Morning, Archie. Yes, man. This ball is going drift. Come on, Archie, boundary. Come on, Archie, boundary. Yes, Rizzy.
He's picking me, but we'll try to go for a nice googly.
Oh, yes.
Last one, Rizzy.
Yeah.
4 to win.
4 to win.
Alright, he's going to try sweep me, I reckon. So we'll go back in the crease, go slow. So lucky.
4. It's difficult. Okay, it's fine. Oh, man. 1.
Googly first up.
Yeah. Fast leg spin. Here's off stump. It's not off stump, I'm going to hit his stump.
Oh, my God. Break on the 100, baby.
So I might get dropped from the 100 here. So, same thing. You won't do it twice. Oh, wide.
Damn.
Wide.
Damn.
That's a hack, mate. That is a hack.
Can't pick it. Can't pick that one.
Now we go googly. Yeah. Let's like pitch it leg off.
What was that? Was that googly? Slider, yeah. Quicker.
Can't pick that one. Can't pick that one. Last two?
Yeah. Perfect.
How many you say to me?
We'll go 2 off 2.
2 off 2. Very confident.
No. What do you mean for 6 now? Googly. Googly's go to lefty.
Oh, ball.
There's only one guy out there.
Yeah?
He's there for the catch. Shall I go Googly or leg spin? I think he's waiting for Googly. I'll ball Googly.
Oh!
Drill 1, this is what I say is the length practice. All you need to do, you need to place 1 cone and you just try to hit it, or you can say target bowling. Idea is, as a leg spinner, you need to make the batsman play. Yeah. If you spin more, if you're a bigger spinner of the ball, then your length will be close to batter. It depends. Every pitch has a different spin. So if you're spinning more, your length will be close to batter. If you bowl quicker, like Adil was bowling, he doesn't spin the ball much, but then you can put your cone in line of the off stump, as long as you're making the batsman to play. So this is drill 2. This is a very useful drill for leg spinner to work on the delivery stride and drive as well. When you are bowling, you need to be very, very careful. Make sure you take exactly the same delivery stride as you do in your bowling run-up. So when you do this drill, don't try to push hard. Just try to bowl in the rhythm, just a 1 step, back foot landing, front foot landing, and then make sure you complete the drive. So the last one I did, what mistake I made when I bowl, my right leg, my drive actually went like a off spinner. So make sure your hip and shoulder going round like this way. You need to be very careful with that, because if you do this, probably your front arm will end up on the towards gully position if the right hander is batting. So then you can try with the both with the 2 steps run up. But this drill is to work on your back foot landing, front foot landing, and the drive. So why we're doing this drill and why we're using this bat? The reason is because as a leg spinner, your drive is very important. So with this one, your shoulder, it will help your shoulder, it will help your stability as well, and which is the biggest part is your delivery stride, and it is very good for your drive. So if you do that every second day, this drill, after 3-4 weeks, you will feel the difference. Your pace will be improved, your shoulder will be strong, and you get more spin as well. Drill 3, reason why we do this, to hit the ring finger. The important thing is when you spin the ball, you should hit the ring finger. If you don't, then you get less spin, you will have less control as well. You just do the underarm throw. There's one more good thing, you can see your seam position as you throw, and you can practice in your hand as well. So as you throw the ball, release the ball, then you can see the seam position. This is drill 4. In this drill, what you need to do, you can see the 1 stump on my left and 1 on the right. So basically the actual stump is on the left, but when you bowl, then try to hit the stump on the right side, just only for leg spin. Why this drill is important? Because when you aim, always, if you're biggest spinner of the ball, then you should aim to the kind of a keeper's left side. So keeper should take on the leg side, or maybe you can say you can aim to the heel of the batter. And then another advantage, you will, if you have a good seam position, you will get the drift as well. This is a drill 5. You can put the stump in line of off stump or middle stump, and idea is to work on your spin. So you need to, once you pitch the ball should go between 2 stumps. So drill 6, similar, but this is for wrong end. So you can, instead of off stump, you can put slightly this way, and your wrong end should go between 2. So make sure when you do this drill, this stump should be slightly wider than your stump, so probably 4th or 5th stump. Reason is that if you put the stumps here, then your wrong end will be wide ball, so you need to bring the wrong end from outside off stump. This drill, it's almost impossible to, the ball, if I put the ball through the stumps. So as you can see that, always your wrong end will be, if you try this drill, your wrong end will be finished within the stumps. So this is another most important part. When you bowl wrong end, your ball should be finished in the stumps. And you can target the edges, you can hit the pads, or the batter will misjudge and try to finish your wrong end in the stumps. So this is drill 7, very simple drill. You can put the cones here and then try to pitch the leg spin here and pitch the wrong end outside the circle. The wrong end, make sure your wrong end is finishing in the stumps. At the same time, practice for left-hander as well. So your wrong end will be pitching in the circle, and your leggy will be pitching outside the circle, and make sure finish at least on the top of off. Drill 8, similar to drill 7. If the leg spin circle is here, then you need to put the cone here, just 1 step from the target, and try to hit the cone. It's going to be same for right-hander and the left-hander as well. Try to pitch in line of the middle stump.
When it comes to leg spin bowling, the importance about the run-ups, and some like to walk and bowl, and some like to run and bowl, and some do a bit of both. So that's absolutely fine as long as it works for you. In terms of starting point, some like to actually go a bit more straight to the stumps, and some like to actually run a bit more angle to the stumps, and some like to run a bit more angle, step angle to the stumps. So either way is absolutely fine. So the first thing for me, when we do using the crease, to make sure you've got to alter your angle that you're coming from. So you've got to change, because otherwise it's probably going to mess up your rhythm. So if I'm going to go a bit more closer to the stumps, and just closer to the crease, I'm going to go here, just going to bowl like that. And if I come closer to the stumps, I go right to the stumps and bowl there, and completing like that. So once you approach, you land your back foot at the front foot. So hopefully we need to have your hips and shoulder aligned to the target. Hopefully you'll be landing the ball if you get that in the best alignment, and that's where the ball's going to go to. So then you're just trying to drive that in the front arm out to the target and down with your head, and hopefully that will help you to get the bowling arm across your body, back past your left knee, and get into the return catch positions after all. Right, start with the grip for the leg spinner. The mine's a bit more 2 fingers up, 2 fingers down. Slot the balls in there. But make sure the key things for me, and this is my spinning finger. This is what I'm part spin. So you can see clearly my ring finger underneath the seam. The more you get under the seams, the more the able to rip in the ball. So I got a bit more relaxed. You can see a bit more fluffy, but equally a little bit more loose as well. Again, the leg spin is a combination of the wrist and in fingers. So just make sure you can keep your thumb on the ball, off the ball, or on the seam, off the seam. So it's per the individual preference. When you release the ball, make sure that the back of the hand's pointed towards you, or palm pointed to the batsman. Googly. So the grip, same for the leg spinner. 2 fingers up, 2 fingers down, thumb on and off. All the difference is, your ball comes out the back of the hand just like that. So the ideally the ball trying to come up, your pinky finger or a bit more, or your ring finger around your wrist, just like that. Okay. So you have to get your back of the hands towards the square leg or the mid cricket if you want to go a bit more round, a little bit more there, just like that. So the other variation of the googly, the modern day, is just trying to bowl a bit more quicker, but it doesn't spin the ball. So this one's we use the fingers more than a wrist. So you slot the ball between these 3 fingers, and when you releases the ball, just you're trying to twist it your fingers and trying to get your ball up above the middle finger, just like that. But you won't actually be able to get a bit more spin, but not enough to get LBWs, and this ball particularly a bit more quicker, you can bowl it through. Okay, still a bit more back of the hands, but you're not using the fingers more than a wrist in this case. The next up, the top spinner. Grip the same, 2 fingers up, 2 fingers down, thumb on and off. The idea of the top spin is trying to get that seam running down the wicket if you bowl with the seam upright. So if you bowl with the scramble seam, you're trying to do the same thing, but the idea is to try to get your fingers up over the ball, just in that motion, like that. If you seam upright, just like that. So you can see the seam rotated down the wicket, and hopefully be able to get the top edges or the LBW, it depends on the wicket that you bowl on. The slider, it's one of the ball that they often surprises the batsman. It looks like a leg break, but it doesn't spin, but it skids on. So the grip will be the same, 2 fingers up, 2 fingers down, thumb on and off. When you release the ball, you release a bit more front of the hand, just like that. And at some versions you actually release a bit more as a back spinner, a bit more inside out, like that. So the best way to think about it, if you're releasing the front of the hands, you release it up there at the front of the hand, just like that, and the camera, you can see that in the white side of the ball. But if you're looking to release the ball a bit more inside, like a back spinner, then you can release it a bit more, kind of almost like a fist is out of the back, the side of the hand, and you can see the ball side, the colour of the ball. Either ball absolutely fine, so whatever works for you, you can give it a try. The flipper, arguably one of the best balls you can bowl. Obviously need a bit more skill to do that. I probably wouldn't recommend to anyone who is actually mastering the stock delivery, and then the googly, and then probably the top spinner and the slider. The last thing for you to master is the flipper. So it's slightly different mechanism. You can see index and the middle finger on the top of the ball, and my thumb underneath the ball. Idea is you're trying to what we used to say, a bit flip the fingers, and you're trying to actually get the ball under the hand, just like that, by just clicking the fingers just like that. So hopefully it creates a bit more back spinner, just skips off the surface to get a little bit up for the ball. So when you come to the strategy and field placement, a number of things are determined. Number 1, you as a spin bowler and what your skill set. Number 2, the type of wicket that you're bowling at. and number 3, the type of batsman you're bowling at. Number 4 will be the situation you come to bowl, and number 5 with the weather conditions. So you need to consider all these things to, you know, to make the best, you know, the fielding positions, and, you know, to get the batsman out. Often in one-day cricket and T20 cricket and in white ball cricket in particular, that, you know, you need to attack the stumps in order to get it out. Sometimes you have to bowl a bit more defensively. Sometimes you have to bowl out, you know, the batsman hand. So the various things you can do. In some cases you can bowl a bit more straight to the stumps, you can bowl a bit more cross to the stumps, and you can bowl under the stumps, and you can try your variations. But if you're a red ball cricketer, a bit more time, you can place, you know, put, you know, field placements and open the gaps for batsmen to hit, but you still be able to trap in the batsman to your strategy. So again, you need to know about, you know, the strategy very clearly, what lines you're going to bowl, what, you know, the pace you're going to bowl, and where you're looking to bowl, and what's your plan A, B, and C. So important message for you is to make sure you have to have a plan in order to bowl. Never have a ball with an empty mind.
So obviously got a leg break. Great thing about leg spin bowling is that it's so different for everyone. There's so many different ways to do it, and there's so many guys who've been successful doing it their own way. But traditionally, you're looking at sort of try and keep your thumb off the ball to maximize spin, but a lot of guys do have some impact with the thumb to try and bit of control. But usually looking pretty 3-finger grip, spinning off the third finger, looking spin it that way. So I'm looking to bowl a leg break like that, palm facing the batter. So if you're facing me like that, it's looking so the ball comes up like that. The seam going towards my left shoulder, or away from my left shoulder, but towards the target there. So you're looking to again get the ball right-handed batter, looking to go into the right-handed batter and spin it away, looking to get wickets, caught slip, extra cover. Or in white ball cricket predominantly, I'm looking to get guys going across the line and looking to bring in the deep fielders as well. So Googly actually bowl predominantly Googlies. Googly, you don't try and change the grip too much, potentially use the thumb a little bit more for a bit of control and maybe narrow the grip up. But only fractionally and subconsciously. I don't actively think about, I'm going to bowl this narrow grip. I just kind of maybe use the thumb a fraction more, which naturally makes the grip a little bit narrower. And again, this is looking to go palm away from the batter this time, and I'm looking to spin it off the third finger again, so the ball comes out with rotations into the right-handed batter, like an off spinner. And again, I'm looking to use that as attacking the stumps, trying to deceive the batsman off the pitch. Bowlers like Rashid Khan, Imran Tahir, those guys really bowl just leg break, a small leg break, and Googly, which is their weapon ball, where they're looking to hit the pads, get guys caught on the crease, bowled in LBW. And it's a big weapon in white ball cricket for me. Predominantly the best leg spinners at the moment in white ball cricket predominantly use the Googly as their weapon, really. I'd say that's their danger ball because they're looking to hit the stumps. Again, same grip, but looking to flick the ball like a dart, almost like throwing a dart. So the motion's like that. So again, the impact's to the ball spinning backwards and try to skid on. But actually, because the seam's up, right, generally if it's wobbling a little bit, it can actually deviate either way. So you get that skidding effect. But if it hits the side of the rope, then it sometimes does nip, like a seamer who's trying to get a wobble seam, trying to nip the ball away. So it sometimes does that naturally. But again, looking to spin the ball hard so that when there's lots of revolutions on it, it does generally skid and slide in the air. It's sort of that motion. Again, angle of the seam you can adjust, play with. Again, gets that motion of the ball sliding into the batter and also skiddy off the surface. Because if it hits the shiny side, it's going to skid a bit more. If it hits the rope, the seam, it generally sits in the pitch a little bit longer. And those are two things I use to try and. It's generally like a defensive ball for me. If a guy's looking to come at me, I kind of use it as like keep them at home. Try and stop them using their feet as much, and also if they're trying to sweep, potentially it's a dangerous ball to try and skid under the bat. But again, you want them playing off the back foot with that, like the Googly. I think traditional Googly, like try and bowl through the gate and backspin the same sort of thing. But actually with this ball, I think you want them try and it looks like they're going to have to go back to it, but actually it's fuller than they think. That's where you get them caught on the crease. I use that quite a bit in white ball cricket. Actually, it's a good go-to for me, the Googly and the backspinner there. There's many different ways to bowl a backspinner though. I know these guys that bowl it with the palm facing and they push it out like a slider. That's another way to do it. But for me, that's very comfortable. I don't know. I just like the feel of it. Over time, I used to bowl a slider again, same sort of thing, but pushing out the front, but doesn't have as much back on it. And I find that is probably, it comes out a little bit quicker, but it's not as much control as that one. I think I've got more control of that because it's more like putting it there. Yeah, again, knuckleballs. It's actually quite hard to hide because it's pretty. You have to set it. For me, I have to set it early, and that's literally I'm getting my nails in the seam there. But there's ways that you can bowl like that. If you've got big hands, you can rest your knuckles against it. But I just find I get better grip with my fingernails in the seam, and I actually don't have that big of fingernails, but find a way to like get it tucked in, and then you're looking to just slight bit of topspin. So when you go through your action, it actually hasn't got much spin on it at all. So it oscillates in there, and you want that motion where it wobbles down to the batter and just tries to deceive them in the air. I think that's one thing you can practice by throwing it, getting that feeling of just a little bit of topspin. So just pushing it with your fingers like that, and that'll when you do go through your action, obviously because there's gonna be an element of backspin when you go through your whole action. Actually, a little bit of topspin and backspin together, well, natural backspin together when your arm's going through. Actually, generally the ball will come out with no revolutions is what you want. Perfect world, and that will oscillate in the air. Yeah, and I use that a fair bit. If I'm on top of a batter and I feel like I'm going well in the game, I'll use that as a bit of a luxury delivery. I think it was not my go-to, but it's definitely a ball I can play with to a new batter, especially in T20 cricket when you get a bit more leeway with the new batter coming to the crease. Obviously, depending who the batter is, if it's a Kieran Pollard, you might not try it so much. You can hit well from the crease, but to a batter potentially is not as, well, it's not looking to dominate from ball one. You can play with those balls. Yeah, from the basics of leg spin bowling, I think the grip's obviously the first and foremost. Spoke about that, getting something that's comfortable. Every grip's different, but that's the basic grip, I'd say, and that's number one priority. Being able to cock your wrist, again, getting that position in your bowling action to start with when you come up. I like a good straight run up, but again, you see lots of different leg spinners coming in from angles. So whatever feels comfortable for you, I think it's a really good thing, a good fun thing to do. Play around with leg spin. So whatever feels comfortable in the garden, or if you're youngster in the garden or playing the nets or whatever, messing around, whatever feels natural to you, whatever feels comfortable to you. I think leg spin's one of those things that you either can or you can't do. I think it's one of those things that it's a natural skill. It's yeah, I think I didn't even bowl leg spin for a long time. I was bowling, just messing around in the nets with my brother, and end up like sticking with it because I found out I really enjoyed it and it was something I could do. And then yeah, from the grip, it's then shoulders, hips, feet aligned. I think that's crucial for basics. Lining your shoulders up to the target, lining your hips up, and by that I mean everything's in a straight line. So shoulders facing the target. Same with your hips, and same with your, I can stand up, same with your hips and same with your feet. So don't block yourself off and don't be too open. So everything's going in a straight line. And again, completion, so that this shoulder's then facing the target. Should be a straight line again, hips, shoulders, feet. That's just basics of the action. The hips, the shoulders and the feet are the three things that I think need to be aligned to be able to bowl the ball at a target. And then it's just repetition. And trying to spin the ball hard. Everyone says it. I know all spin coaches around the world. You spin bowler, try and spin the ball. I get a lot of stick. I don't really spin the ball much as a leggy, but actually there is revolutions on the ball, and there's other ways to deceive batsmen. You don't have to bowl a big leg break to show that you're spinning the ball. You can bowl a googly that's got a lot of revolutions on it, or a backspinner that you're spinning hard backwards. Every single ball, try and spin it as hard as you can. That's the main thing about spin bowling, is spinning it. So generally, I've got flatter and flatter over time, just because I played at Taunton, it's small boundaries, and I played T20 cricket predominantly, so batsmen always coming at you. So my generally, I've got flatter and flatter, driving the ball into the surface, trying to do them off the pitch rather than in the air. But again, bowling slower to a new batsman or a different surface. So I'll play away at Hampshire or GS Bowl, which has got big boundaries and it's a slow spinning wicket, then potentially have to bowl slower and try and spin the ball harder. Again, just reading the surface early and trying to see what works best for that surface. But playing at Taunton, I have to bowl quite quickly and try and get it under the bat a lot, and try and beat them off the pitch rather than in the air. Just coming to bowl the field, to be fair, I usually bowl the first over for Somerset, and I'm only usually have two fielders out, and I'm looking to again target the stumps as much as I can, bowl lots of backspinners and googlies, and try and hit the shiny side of the ball so it's skidding on, and trying to target the front pad. I actually do right in the first over because people look to knock it around. Actually, that's where I can get into the game a little bit. I feel I have a long one and deep mid wicket generally, because I'm looking to run the ball into the right hander. And yeah, the fielding I do play with is either have 2 at point or have a mid wicket in, actually, and try and stop that single as well for the first over. So yeah, a short third man, point, cover, mid off, and then have 5 out leg side, 45, square leg up, deep mid wicket in, and a long on, and that would be my generic field to a right hander. Obviously, moving that mid wicket on the one across to the offside, protect the offside if I feel like that I've sort of dominating the over. If I've gone 4 balls in that over and I'm feeling like the over's only gone for a couple, then I'll potentially pat the offside and protect that a little bit more, depending on the batter as well. Some batters play differently, like sometimes bowling at Aaron Finch and Jason Roy would be different to bowling at a county with 2 less explosive opening batters. So I don't think the field would change a huge amount, but potentially that mid wicket might come across to the offside. Trying to read what the batter's trying to do. Obviously, every batter's different, and T20 is quite an unpredictable game. But you can sort of pick up if a guy's strong on the leg side, or he plays a reverse sweep a lot. You potentially move mid wicket to second point. I actually find guys that sweep and hit down the ground are the hardest to bowl to, because they can hit both. They can hurt you both sides. Actually, guys that only one dimensional, I feel like I can control the game a bit better. So it's being aware of the batter you're bowling at, and potentially adjusting your game plan slightly to make it harder for the batter to play it, to execute his game plan. If he's strong in a certain area, potentially take that away from him, will make him do something he doesn't want to do, and that's really important to try and be step ahead of the batter, especially in T20 cricket. And you get that through playing and experience in those things. But yeah, trying to be one step ahead of the batter is so crucial in T20 cricket, as well as variation.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is the grip. I think, the most basic thing. So I'm just going to talk about leg spin today. If you want to hear about finger spin, I'm sure there's lots of stuff out there you can learn if you do a bit of research. Even on my podcast, had some finger spinners coming up, so that's good things to learn. But for a leg spinner, kind of the main key things for the grip are making sure that your spinning finger, which is normally this finger, is flush on the ball in particular. So for me, that's on the seam. Like, you can bowl cross seam, but for me, they're on the seam. So kind of having that motion there, making sure it's right on the seam, so you're imparting as much spin as possible. Then for the grip, there's different schools of thought. Like Shane Warne talks about really having like kind of 2 fingers up and 2 fingers down, and that's how he works, and having quite a big gap between them. But for me, I'm probably quite spread out, having it on for my leg spinner. And for my googly and top spinner, I actually have the same grip, and it's just about changing the wrist position, which we're going to talk about more later. And another variation flipper, I do change my grip slightly, but I guess that's the main thing about your grip, is having that spinning finger flush on the seam. Like, I think I used to be a bit more like that, with it not quite on the seam. I lost a bit of spin, but now I have it flush on that seam. So that's what really helps that. In terms of your action, I think it's really important to have a natural action that works for you. So, if you just went and bowled the nets, however you bowl, that's probably the way you're going to bowl. But then it's just about fine-tuning little things. So one thing that especially like kind of English and Aussie coaches will tell you is it's really good to have an aligned action, which I completely agree with. So that talks about having your feet, hips and shoulders all pointing at your target. So for me, if I'm bowling now at the camera, for example, my shoulders, I want to have them facing straight down rather than being too open or too closed. If I'm aligned, then that's going to give me the best chance to be accurate and spin it. So that same principle for your hips and feet as well. So they're kind of 3 things that you can work on. You can do that by doing drills of bowling without a run up, those kind of things. Another thing that's important is your front arm, especially as a leg spinner, is having a really strong front arm that goes towards your target. So that's a really good cue for people to think about. In terms of your run up, I think, again, it's quite natural. There's a lot of different approaches to the game, like to having a run up. So I think someone like Shane Warne, who just walks in, Rashid Khan definitely runs in. And I think it's, again, just finding like what works for you. And I think if you're not sure what works for you, see what makes you spin the ball the most, because that's what spin bowling is about. It's about spinning it. So if you find that when you're running in, it doesn't spin that much, then maybe try walking in and see if it spins more, or, you know, something in between. However you do it, you know, you can kind of work it out. And then another thing to talk about run up is, I spoke about this a bit on episode 1 of my podcast with Matt Parkinson, is he talks about having a straight run up because that helps him getting a line. Field settings. So I think the main thing to work out is, and Shane Warne talks a lot about this, is always know how you're trying to get the batter out. So for me as a leg spinner to a right-hander, more times than not, I'm trying to get spin the ball and get an edge from the batsman. So a really important fielder for me is first slip. And then if it's a 4-day game and I've got another man around the bat, I might have a short leg, because if it doesn't quite spin as much, or you bowl Googly to a right-hander, you can kind of get that inside edge to short leg. So I think the main things is working out what attacking fielders you're going to have, because that informs your field. But on the flip side of that, you know, everyone's human. You're not going to bowl your best ball every time. Otherwise you'd be a bit of a freak. Like even Shane Warne bowled bad balls. So the other thing to work out is where you need protection. So for me at the moment, at the start of a red ball spell, I normally have one person out each side. So like a deep cover and a deep square leg. And I'll have that deep square leg in front of square, because that's where I normally get hit. And then, you know, you can kind of work out from there. So that's for red ball. And I think as well, an important thing to say is, like, you don't have to have that men around the bat straight away. This can be really helpful sometimes if you start with that fielder out each side, and then once you start your spell, you can bring them in, because it's really important that you get into your spells and you find a way. Whereas if you have a 2 attacking field to start with, hit for a couple of boundaries, and you put a fielder out, you know, the batter's kind of on the front foot there. Whereas on the flip side, if you have the men out and then you bring them in, you know, that's, you kind of, in terms of the mental battle there with the batsman, you know, you're putting pressure on him and saying, right, you've got to hit the ball past my fielders now. So that's for red ball. And then I think for T20 cricket, you get 5 men out in the middle and 2 men out if bowling in the power play. So if you watch most spinners around the world, those 5 won't really change. You have a deep cover, long off, long on, deep mid wicket, and then a deep square leg. So it's the only kind of field I'd change in T20 is if someone reverse sweeps me, I'm more likely to have 2 backward points, and I'll get him from mid wicket that's where I'll lose a fielder. And if he doesn't really reverse sweep, then I'll probably have a mid wicket and just 1 backward point. So that's the thing with that. And then probably talking a bit more down the line here, but for me, the way that I learn that is doing my analysis on batters. So watch video, look at wagon wheels, and you can kind of see who's a strong reverse sweeper. So that's kind of a template, but obviously there's little things you might change in T20 if you think someone gets caught on mid-wicket. If they can't sweep, you might have no 45. If it's spinning a lot, you could have a slip or a man on the drive. Even in T20, I think it's good to have those attacking fielders. In terms of the other format, 50 over cricket, I spoke a bit about this with my podcast with Ish Sodhi, but the difference between 50 over cricket and T20 cricket is you've got to have that extra man in the ring during the middle overs. So again, it's working out kind of the way you bowl, what's the hardest option to take. So normally for a leg spinner, if it's spinning, you probably have mid on up, because in theory they've got to hit against the spinner right-hander to go over there. But I think it's just working out. So like for me, playing a lot of flat wickets in England, and because of my action, I get a lot of drift on the ball. Mid-off's actually quite a hard one to hit over sometimes. So I guess in 50 over cricket, it's just working out for you which fielder suits your style of bowling the best. In terms of the flight or the pace you want to bowl, I think it's really important, as with your action, that you bowl the pace that's natural to you. So it might be that you're a young spinner and you find that you spin it most when you bowl slow, then bowl slow. That's great. You know, if you bowl quick and you lose your shape and lose your spin, then it's probably best just to stick bowling slow. I think that's something that's really, really important. Something you can think about if you're a bit more advanced as a spinner, and it's probably something that comes a bit more of the mastery side of spin bowling, is that you can change your pace dependent on a lot of things. So, for example, if one wicket is spinning when you bowl slower, then you can have a go at that. But if it's spinning more when you bowl quicker, you can kind of change your pace for each wicket. And I think that's a real skill to have. And I know even for me, like I find when I bowl my stock pace would have my best control. So I'm actually quite unlikely to be able to change my pace to wickets. But for a finger spinner, it might be a bit more of a natural thing. You can also think about the batsman style. Is it going to be harder for him to hit if you bowl slow? The match situation, you might have someone who, you might have a really short boundary on one side, so you want to bowl quicker or slower, depending on that. There's lots of different things that can affect your pace and your flight. On to variations. So for a leg spinner, I guess because of the way we bowl, there's a lot of variations we can bowl, which is a massive plus point and strength of being a wrist spinner. So the first one you'll maybe hear about is a googly or a wrong-un. So I'll show you to start with a leg spinner. So again, if I'm bowling this way, so a leg spinner will just come out, have that kind of right to left motion with your wrist, and it just comes up there, spins away from a right-handed batsman. Now a wrong-un kind of comes out the back. So imagine the ball's coming down this way. So you're kind of flicking it out the side and imparting the spin on it, so it goes the other way. And then I think for a wrong-un, there's lots of different ways to bowl it. And I think that I couldn't, like I said, when I was younger, I wasn't half the bowler I am now, and I couldn't bowl googly. So I kind of had to spend a bit of time when I was at uni trying to teach myself. And spoke to loads of people, went out to India to a spin bowling camp, and that was kind of my main focus, was how to bowl googly. And so there's lots of different things you can do. One thing I always encourage people, if they don't have a clue how to bowl it, is you can kind of do like an underarm way of doing it. So if you imagine underarm leg spinner, you're just flicking it kind of on that, to your mate, right to left, and then you can flick a underarm googly just by doing it with your arm straight and flicking it out. So that's a really good way to kind of get a feel for it. You can think about dropping your front shoulder when you bowl it, opening your hips up a little bit, trying to get this bowling arm higher. There's a lot of different things you can think about in terms of how to really be able to bowl like googly. But like anything, it comes from practice. So another variation is top spinner. This is probably a bit more simple than a googly. So you think wrist spinner comes out, right to left motion like this. Top spinner, you're just getting imagine your palms facing completely sideways and flicking the ball out so the seam's completely upright. Now, top spin is a really good ball for a number of reasons. I think, first of all, what it does is it will dip more and bounce more because of the revolutions on the ball. So, for example, you might see a top spinner caught at short leg quite a lot because it hits the kind of shoulder of the bat. And then also in white ball cricket, if someone's trying to hit you for 6 straight, because of the dip on the ball, the ball ends up hitting higher on the bat again, and it's more likely to go straight up. So it's actually really, for me, underrated as an option in white ball cricket. So that might be a time to bowl on it. Then I guess there's probably 2 main other variations that kind of behave in a similar way. So like a slider or a back spinner that you kind of push out the front. I bowl a back spinner. I was lucky enough that Imran's here taught me a while ago, where you basically grip it on the seam and you really cock your wrist back and flick it out. And that, get a lot of backspin on that, and that can be a really good ball, especially with a duke sport. It tends to shape in quite a lot. And then the best version of a slider or backspin is the flipper. So if you search like flipper on YouTube, you probably see a lot of videos of people bowling it, especially Shane Warne. And the way he tends to bowl it is it's actually a different grip. So like I said, leg spinner, you got all your fingers on your ball. For flipper, I just have these 3, so thumb and these 2 fingers. And you imagine you're just clicking the ball out. So just click the ball out of your hands, and you can kind of see what's happening to the seam as it goes backwards. So this is the hardest ball to bowl, basically. So you want it to, as you come over, I guess, kind of similar position to the top spinner, but you're flicking the ball out there. So that motion there. And what that does in there is opposite to a top spinner. So a top spinner kind of dips and bounces. A flipper will kind of float in the air and then skid off the surface. So you see a lot of wickets of people going back to cut or pull, and it kind of does them for length and skids through and gets bowled LBW. So for me, flippers are really exciting ball, although it's very hard to bowl, you know, in terms of getting your control. I think if you can control it, the world really is your oyster, probably especially in red ball cricket where you can really set a batter up for it. So like I know for me in my own career at the moment, that's a massive work on is nailing that flipper. Mental side of spin bowling. So for me, like, this is massive, and I think it's definitely more important than technical, because obviously you need some sort of technical aptitude, but the best spinners are the ones, their action's probably not too dissimilar from a lot of other cricketers, but because they have the mental skills to cope with playing on the highest stage, you know, they can really repeat what they can do under pressure. So the mental side's really, really vital to cricketers. And one thing I really want to speak about is, we spoke about Stewie McGill at the start, and he's massive on this. So he talks about your kind of mindset as a spin bowler and what you want to do. And when the first time I ever met him, he kind of set me homework after our first session, and the homework he set me was, he asked me to write down on a bit of paper what my best ball looked like. And when he said best ball, like, he meant like perfect ball, like how I feel my run up, how it feels out my hand, what I do, what's the seam position, what does the ball do in the air, what's happening to the batsman, what, you know, and all these like really precise kind of imagery, I guess, about what my best ball is. So for a leg spinners, that's kind of pitching on leg stump, hitting top of off as a template. Like that's kind of mine really. And I feel like drifting in the air, how you confuse the batsman, and being really vivid about how you imagine that. And then it says when you bowl, just try and do that every ball. And if you try and do that, you're not thinking about anything else. You're really focused on exactly what you want to do. And if you get your best ball slightly wrong, it's still going to be a good ball. You know, if you bowl it slightly full, it's still got all the shape on it. You're probably just going to get driven, or, you know, if it's slightly wider, it's still going to be the right length. So I think having that best ball mindset is massive. And that's the same through all formats. Like, people talk a lot about mixing it up in T20, which I do believe to an extent. But if you bowl an over of your best ball, there's no way you're going to get hit for six every ball the batter can keep winning. You know, there's at some point you're going to deceive him if it is your best ball with all the revs on it and exactly how you want. So, and you know, so the way that kind of played out with mine and Stewie's training was, I literally tried to bowl my best ball. And so, like, in reality, you're bowling 2 hours of stock balls, but because you're really aspiring to bowl that best ball, it doesn't feel like that. And it's not boring because you're literally trying to work towards that all the time. So I know that that's kind of Stewie's big philosophy. And he said that to Mason Crane. He went on to have an amazing season when he was working with him. Matt Critchley, who's gone on to play England Lions, I think, in a North-South series. Like, Matty Parkinson obviously gone on to play for England. Like, I think it's amazing kind of seeing the impact that he's had with people. And like, even myself, like, it took me from someone who's probably playing a lot of second team county cricket to playing for England Lions. Like, it's amazing to see the impact that he's had on people. And I really hope that going forward that his kind of skill isn't lost on people and coaching. So hopefully teams and players keep using him. And I even speaking to Ish Sodhi, he spoke to him and he said the next day he got 6 for 11 in the Big Bash. So his approach and the way he thinks about it is brilliant. And still talking about the mental side of it, like, a lot of our sessions where we'll go to the SCG cafe and just talk for an hour and 45 minutes, now just go and bowl 15 minutes at the end. And I think that's where you get a lot of your best learnings, is talking about the game and talking about the fine points. And I think that's, I guess, another big motivation for my podcast was I learned so much just from talking to Stewie. So if you can share those kind of conversations you have, so I think that's a really powerful thing. So other things on the mental side, so you want to try and bowl your best ball. I think that, I guess finding ways, that you stay calm under pressure, however that is. I've tried lots of things in my career, like mindfulness, visualization, things like goal setting can be great, whether that's goal setting like we spoke about at the start, about like, oh, one day I want to play for England, or it might be goal setting like, right, today I want to get 3 wickets, or today I want to bowl a flipper in a game. Like, however you do that, there's lots of different ways of doing it. But the biggest thing I've learned in the last year and a half about the mental side of the game is the importance of keeping perspective. So, knowing that it's not the be all and end all of like if you do well or not. So I think that, and if you have that perspective that it's not the be all and end all, you're more likely to go and perform, and you're not going to overthink it. Like, and if you have a bad day, it's not the end of the world. And I think if you know that, then you're more likely to have good days. And I think as well, like, knowing that any thoughts you have are just thoughts. If you choose to really pay attention to them, then that's when you might be in trouble. It's about not overthinking it. So, for example, like if I'm about to come onto bowl and I think, oh, I don't bowl badly today, you can choose to ignore that and just think, oh, it's a thought, whatever. Or you can kind of think, oh, I'm thinking that means they're going to bowl badly today. So that's a really big thing. And I guess joined with that perspective is that enjoyment side of it. So making sure that when you go out, like, again, we spoke about at the start, like if you'd said to me 10 years ago I'd achieved in the game what I have, I would have bit your hand off. So don't forget that. I think if you don't get picked for a game, it's not in the world. You're still doing what you love. So I think that goes for spinners or cricketers really throughout the game.
So to start with, like, just your basic leg spinner. If you've ever heard Shane Warne talk about it, he talks about two up, 2 down. So he means like 2 fingers up, 2 fingers down, like you can see there. And then you're trying to line up the seam. So this finger here is going to do most of the spinning for you. So this one sort of on the seam, and that's how you're going to get it to come out, the seam nice and straight. Obviously, just from there, the way a cricket ball is, you can bowl leg spinners, but you can change the seam to however you want. So you can change the seam to sort of like that, and it'll be a cross seamer. You can have it like here, and it will be cross seam as well. And that gives you a different variation that obviously the batsman won't see the seam coming at them like that. It was scrambled, slightly harder to pick. Just moving on from that to bowl variations. What I try and do, I try and keep my grip as similar as I can for as many balls as possible, so that that won't affect your action. So for example, if you have the ball, maybe sitting differently, some guys hold it slightly differently, or however for different balls, that's actually going to affect how the ball looks. So when your arm's coming over, it's going to look different before it's got there. So I'm trying to keep it similar. So when I'm bowling a googly, I'm still trying to keep it. I'd probably bowl it cross seam, so I'd have it here somewhere like that. And then obviously the ball's going to come out the back instead. But from a grip perspective, generally I'm trying to keep everything pretty similar, and then I'm changing the position of my wrist. So if I want more overspin, see my wrist will be next to the ball like that. If I want more side spin, my wrist will be sort of more behind the ball like that. And then your traditional ball will be sort of somewhere there. So I'm trying to change this really more than my grip. As you can see there, like if the ball sits differently for different balls, that's a difference already you can pick up. So I'm trying to keep things pretty similar, and that should help your action be more repeatable as well. When I coach young kids, they all want to bowl a googly, of course they do. But what I would say, so a leg spinner, your wrist's going to be moving like this to bowl leg spin. And that's, once you've got that movement sort of down, and you can do that, then the googly really, it just is an extension of that. So you can see how instead of coming round the ball like that there, you can see I always talk about this part of your wrist to bowl a googly, talking about trying to move that part round, and then the googly will come out the back. So for me, again, grip wise, keeping the ball the same, maybe scramble, seam, whatever you want to do. When you're learning to bowl googly, it's actually really good to bowl with the seam straight. So you can see as the ball's going down, you can see where it's a leg spin. And then when you bowl a googly, you'll actually be able to see the ball, the seam, you'll be able to see where you're making it point. But I talk about this little joint on your wrist here. If you can try and get that to turn around, that's how that's how Googly's going to come out the back. And that's the easiest way I can explain it really, is that your wrist would be open to bowl a leg spinner, and then you just try and close that bit off, and it's the same movement. Obviously your wrist has turned, and that's how Googly will come out the back of your hand. So, well, top's been pretty simple really in terms of, so when you bowl a leg spin, you can bowl a leg spin from any angle. So you can bowl from here, you can change it more front on like that. And a topspin really is just halfway to a Googly. So you just get exactly halfway, and you just come straight over the ball like that. And you just make sure that you are sort of pulling down on the ball. And you know, again, to train it maybe with the seam, you want the seam to be coming down pretty straight. So whereas you said like Googly is more turning wrist from there, and leg spinners over here, you would have a top spinner just be bang in the middle. So you know, it's quite difficult to bowl because obviously you get more dip, so then you have to sort of change where your trajectory is, and you have to work out how much you're going to make it dip to work that out. But yeah, those three are actually pretty similar in terms of wrist movement, and then, you know, action, it should be pretty similar as well. So I don't really bowl too much for flipper, but it's more so where the others have been sort of here, the flipper, you're more from this position, you're going to actually fire it out from underneath. It's pretty difficult to do. I've been trying it for quite a while now. I haven't quite got it right. From here, and you're sort of almost like a clicking movement, and the ball sort of come out fire from underneath. I guess another way to do that would be like a slider out the front. So, you know, whereas you're normally coming over the ball like this, a slider out the front, where you're trying to get the ball to go down pretty much sideways like that. And on most wickets, if it's not particularly conducive, I guess, to spin, that should skid on straight. Well, I think it's quite important. So for leg spin, it's obviously it's going to be a twist, so you're going to be twisting round. So for that, you have to, I think you have to get pretty side on. If your front arm is, if your front shoulder is open, it's going to be difficult to get a lot of revs on the ball, just because there's no sort of twisting to be had. The twist, how you get spin, but you know, if your direction and stuff, it's about staying side on and going over towards the target, whilst also obviously giving yourself a chance to come round on it. You know, so for me, if it's like I'm trying to point with my front shoulders, kind of like my how I'm going to aim. So I'm aiming with my front shoulder where I'm driving to. So I think run-ups are pretty individual. I think whatever's more comfortable for you, but you know, it's understanding if you can get enough momentum from your run-up, and you can keep your run-up the same. You know, you can have a constant tempo you're running at. So obviously for me, I have a slightly longer, maybe quicker run-up than most spinners, because for me, that's how I'm going to generate enough sort of pace and momentum to be able to sort of explode and get over my front leg. Other guys, you know, do it from slower run-ups or walking or whatever, but as long as you can generate enough momentum at the crease and you give yourself enough time to bowl the ball. The issue of running in, like I do, sometimes you don't spend enough time at the crease, you sort of run through it a bit, which again stops you getting sort of spin on the ball. But you know, if you can control both those things, if you can control getting enough momentum, but also giving yourself enough time to actually bowl it while you're at the crease, you know, a run-up's pretty individual, I think. I think your flight and pace will change a lot depending on the conditions, who you're bowling at, things like that. Some batsmen, if you flight the ball up to them, they're gonna come after you, and maybe that's what they're more comfortable at facing. So you have to change that. But you know, for me, it's about being able to do both. So if you can, you know, you can flight the ball up and bring it down. If you can drift the ball in the air a bit, but but at the same time have the ability to, sort of drag your length back if you have to in shorter format games. And assessing the conditions. It's sometimes great to watch the ball spin a long way if you bowl slower, but on a really slow pitch, it may actually be more beneficial to bowl slightly quicker and get less spin from the wicket, but more chance of getting an edge. I would say field, I think, regardless of where the fielders are, and we talk for hours and hours about what the best fields are and where the fielders should be, but if you're comfortable with your field, I think that's a big thing for me. So if I'm comfortable that I have enough protection, I understand if I bowl a bad ball, where's it going to get hit, and I've got that covered. If this batsman plays a really good shot, where's it likely to be, and I've got that covered. If I'm comfortable with that, I think that gives you a lot of confidence in your bowling. If you're at the top of your mark and you're not so sure, you're thinking, I don't have much protection on the leg side. I really can't bowl short here, or I'd like another man out on the offside, or it can't help. So I think as long as you're comfortable, and then it's about, for me, learning in 4-day cricket, learning to bowl with people around the bat is a real skill actually, and having the ability to bowl with fielders around the bat, close fielders, is a big skill. But again, you have to be comfortable with it. So if having a short leg is going to take away from your bowling, then it's no use having them there. You need to be comfortable. So if you feel covered and you feel almost sort of protected, then I think that will help your bowling. And regardless where the fielders are, they can change. You can move them all the time, but being comfortable with what you've got is a big thing. Yeah, I think your mindset is always, your mindset's got to be, we're not afraid of going for runs. For leg spin, I'm talking about now. So we're not afraid of going for runs because it's going to happen. No one's ever not been hit for 6. It happens all the time. You have to get used to it. You have to be all right with going for runs. It's going to happen, but at the same time, you have to keep telling yourself you'll take wickets. And even if it's not happening, having the approach that it will. If I keep bowling well, if I keep putting the ball in the right area, eventually it will change. May not be today, but there will be a day where it just clicks, and it will happen for me. And that all ties into everything. Your mindset will change day to day, game to game. Of course it will, depending on what's being asked of you. But if you're comfortable with your field, if you're comfortable with your preparation, that can only help your mindset, and it only help you be positive. So then if things aren't going well, you've got that to fall back on. You've got, I am doing the right things. It's just not happening for me. Hang in there, keep bowling good balls and asking good questions. I think that's all you can really do, to be honest. If you bowl well, once the ball's left your hand, it's out of your control what happens next. All you can do is just keep bowling good balls, asking questions, and if you've got the right fielders in place, got a good plan to certain batsmen, it will hopefully go your way.
Cricket Life Stories with me, Neil Kagram. Today on the channel, we're joined by Paul Adams. Paul, how's it all going in South Africa?
Hi everyone. Yeah, it's all good. Just been sort of the end of the summer year, but cricket season's winding down with finals, competitions, and all of that's happening around. But we're all good, yeah.
So Paul, you're going to give us some wrist spin tips. Before we dive into the specifics in this video, obviously you're a 45 test veteran for South Africa, played 24 ODIs. Maybe before we start in the main body of the video, you can give us a quick overview of your career and the journey to becoming South Africa's premier spinner.
Quick one. Well, I debuted at the age of 18. Back in 1995, and then played for a span of it's about 9-10 years. I retired playing in first class cricket in 2008, and then from there on I've been involved in coaching and been in various structures within Cricket South Africa, franchises, and consulting as well with Cricket South Africa in terms of spin bowling and being a head coach within the system.
So if a youngster did come to you, obviously everyone starts at a young age, different aspirations, want to be a fast bowler, a gun batsman. If someone came up to you and said, I want to be a wrist spinner, as a young player, what are the key fundamentals, in your opinion, they should be focusing and practicing first, just starting out with no knowledge at all?
Yeah, I think one of the key things for me is first to listen to the player and find out what his character is like. Because being a spinner, you've got to have a good big heart and understand that you will get smacked now and again, especially as a young one coming into the game. And as you go on, you'll start to understand your bowling action, understand your strategies, understand what goes on, and field placement and all of those things that go along with the game. And I think that's one of the key fundamentals in terms is the mental makeup of that player. And then you look at his natural ability or what he's got and what type of spinner does he want to be. And then, a lot of young players would like to explore the various options they have. And probably one of the key things is to get the grips right. So let me first talk about myself in terms of when I grew up, there was no internet. There was no YouTube. All of those things were non-existent. We had the old VHS cassettes that could go around with some footage, but you had to learn by yourself or just word of mouth with a lot of friends or family that play the game. But I grew up and my grip was 2 fingers like this. So I'm very different in terms of just myself. But key fundamentals, wrist spin for me is always the grip. Making sure that young spinners understand how they need to grip and how the ball needs to come out for leg spinner. So it's always 2 fingers up, 2 fingers down, and you put the ball in their hand. And also important size of ball that you teach them with. Make sure it's the correct size for their hands, because you don't want them small little hands on the ball and they will never get the grip right. So fundamental thing is key. The heart, understand where they are and they're willing to work hard and get the grips in place and then work from there.
What about some of the biomechanics of the action? When it comes to fast bowling, there's a lot said about having that braced front leg and then snapping over. Is that a similar case with a wrist spinner?
Yeah, so coaching, especially young leg spinners and that, and we can't really talk too technical to them because everything sometimes comes very natural. So for me, it's all about energies, and we want to align the energies up towards the target that they want to be bowling. I use an analogy of I utilize a string often in my bowling, in my coaching, and I'll pull a string from if you're a right arm leg spinner bowling to a right hander, from middle stump right through to mid crease, not too wide and also not too close, just to give them a bit of space to bowl. So I'll pull a string and I'll use the analogy of this is the train track and pull it towards you like that. And they are the train. They do not want to be derailing the train. So make sure that you approach it with a slight angle and get your leg spinner going all along the train track. And that's where you're going to get projection of energies and making sure that the mechanics, their feet placements are all in order, their shoulder alignment, their hips are all in line with where it needs to go. And that for me is fundamental, because if you've got your key energies running in the same direction towards the target, from arms, from head, that means the ball will be traveling along that string and getting in the right line towards the stumps. So getting kids understanding that instead of talking a very technical game to them is key. Get down to their level, make sure it's fun. And as you go along, you can speak to older players about the mechanics and get them to understand. And I always use my action. Look, it's very different. And I'll tell them, don't get distracted with the head and everything going down. Watch my feet, watch my hips, watch my shoulders. Look at the movement of it. It's all heading down the string, down towards the target. And that's what makes my action accurate. And that's what I could play at international level. If I can do it, you can do it.
One of the key, appeals, I'm not a leg spinner. I'm a club player anyway, but I was never a leg spinner. But looking from afar, it's the different variations that really kind of like appeals to the art of leg spin, wrist spin bowling. For a young player, perhaps starting out, what's the balance between absolutely mastering your stock ball and trying these various variations, flipper, googly, top spin, etc.? What tips would you give on that?
Yeah, so your base is always your stock delivery, your leg spinner. But again, come back to me, my stock delivery was the googly. It's the one I bowl best, the one I can control the best. And really I can set a field, I can put a batsman into doubt in some sort of way in that. But variations really come in, master your stock. But in this day and age, you watch, there's a lot of T20 cricket on, and they'll be watching their heroes on the television and seeing that there's variations, there's slow-mos coming on TV, they've got access to all these things, so they'll be very inquisitive about how it happens and how they can bowl it. So I don't discourage, I encourage, if you want to explore, but I always make sure that the biomechanics of the action is sound. They've got to have control, and then we look at those variations. And like one of the key things for them is to understand how to do it hand to hand first, because the wrist position is all that changing in the wrist. So your normal leg spinner would be in that. If you want to bowl the googly, the back of the hand needs to be facing the batter. So they go, oh wow, okay, they didn't understand that, and then we'll train it and then see how they can get it going. And it's so important that they understand it's a feel. Because once they get that feel of their googly, they also got to understand to keep going back to their stock ball. You don't want them to be losing their stock delivery and turning their leg spinner. So get the wrist positions in correct, and then from there build it up into the bowling action.
One of the things that you hear a lot of commentators say is finding the right pace as a spin bowler with different conditions around the world. An amateur player, sometimes it might be difficult to understand what that actually means. Can you explain, say if you've got a turner in India or a seaming track in England, if the skipper throws you the ball and says, get me a wickets on the final day, how are you finding the right pace on that track?
So for me, it's always, if I can bowl quick and the surface gives me assistance, that's going to be my stock. If things can happen quickly off the wicket, then that's where you need to be. But then your variation would be slower and change up. But you found surfaces as well where slow could be good. That's the only time you're going to get bite and a bit of turn. Because if you bowl quick, it might skid on. So it's a feel. You've got to assess the conditions. You've got to maybe understand the surface that you're on, maybe history, and look at past scans that you go onto those wickets. But again, I talk about this day and age. A lot of the talk is getting the leg spinners to get up there with their speed, and not that slow leg spinners as a stock delivery. So you want things to happen nice and quick, but it's also it's not about bowling with a flat trajectory, bowling quick flat, and there's no shape on it. So I use always the saying that Bishop Betty has taken, where he talks about spinners in the air, because when the ball spinning in the air, it creates deception, and that's where the spin bowler comes into the game. So there's got to be a amount of spin in the flight, and that creates the shape, the drift. Remember, the ball of the century, Mike Gatting didn't get to with the spin of the delivery. It was more how the ball drifted and he shaped towards leg side, and it opened up his off stump for the defense and won't bowl him in the off stump. So spinners in the air and breakers off the wicket, or you might get turned. So always try and encourage the spinners to spin the ball as hard as they can to get that shape, no matter what pace you're bowling. It could be slow, could be quick, but still having a good 90 k's an hour or 88 k's an hour speed on it.
Say this is going to be a very generic question, but say if you've got a 6 balls, how would you go about almost setting up a batsman? Would you look to just vary the flight and pace, try and spin it as much as possible? What would your tactics generally be?
Yeah, so I think your field will dictate in that. Look what sort of field placing you got. If you've got a guy on the drive, you might want to get into the over. You don't want to be putting yourself under pressure. So you want to be bowling your stock just to keep it very simple, nice and straight at the stumps. And then now and again, if you got a guy on the drive or your slip in play, you want to maybe go slightly wide, slightly slower, and then you could entice the drive where he's not quite there at it. Or the other option is you can deliver the ball from further back on the crease, look at the same trajectory, but it's just the length has changed. And the batter sometimes, because they often pick length through how your flight is coming, and then you can change the length and then make them drive too early, caught in the covers, or he edges it. So the deception lays with batters unable to pick your length. And that's, so you create that variation often in the middle of the overs, and then you want to, towards the back end of the over, close it off. And it's sort of with either dot balls, making sure you're bowling stock again. Not necessarily taking risks towards the back end of overs, but you set up, and in the same way, it's a process where you always try and just follow the same thinking process of what you got. So you make your plan, you do it, see it, and then make sure you're assessing what have you seen the batter do, what did happen off the surface. You get all that information and you say, okay, do I need to make that change strategically? Do I change the field, or do I carry on with that plan for a period of time? And then when you go again and you follow it, it's a sort of a cycle that you can follow within your bowling plan for each ball. But also make sure that you are not too impatient. If you're playing longer format of the game, back your plan and make sure you're just executing what you need to do for each delivery as well.
You touched on this at the top of the chat. You said spinning with having that big heart. What about dealing with pressure as a spinner? Is it almost that acceptance that you're going to be hit at the ground? Is it almost having that almost belief, keep coming back the next ball, sticking with your plans, etc.?
Yeah, I think I would encourage batters often to have a go, have the shots, play a shot at me. It's key to how you can set up a game. Not often, especially at various levels, you might find that batters are struggling to hit the ball for one up the ground, and that they can only whack the ball maybe to the boundary. So if you put a man out and you tell him still, come, let's go with it, whatever, he doesn't understand about knocking ones, or he looks somewhere else for runs. So expect it and almost will it on. If I talk about my strategy sometimes, I used to sit that short leg fielding and talk to the batters to encourage them to play shots. But it's just part of my makeup. You've got to have that heart and that fighting spirit. There are spinners in your teams or characters. They deep thinkers also of the game as they go along. But you've got to have that heart and expect batters to either whack you or they don't have a clue, and that's what keeps bringing you back all the time.
And again, you've touched on this in this chat, but the key difference is bowling in the different formats. Red ball, obviously you got short form, white ball cricket, and the 50-over game as well. As a spinner, as a wrist spinner, how would your approaches almost differ?
Yeah, so longer formats we talk about is first-class cricket, 4-day games, 3-day games, where you've got a longer period to set up plans. And also, you might get to the 4th day when there's rough, and then you need to understand bowling in that rough, setting various fields, and knowing where the batter is going to take a risk, what's high risk for him, and open up those areas if you're getting spin, and make him play towards the high-risk areas. And that's where you're going to get him out. And then we talk about the 1-day format, the short format. It's more very compact. You got to understand containing batters, knowing where risk are, and then also knowing how to get a batter off strike. Often you'll get the problem lays when there are in batters in, and you are struggling to sort of control them. So knowing where your one ball is and bowling what's variation. So even like a wide, slow delivery is a great delivery to bowl for wicket taker, because there's not enough pace to use it to run down, or they're busy whacking and going across it, and it's quite wide and they hit it straight up in the air. Only really good quality players might hit you over extra cover, but then you just go, good shot, well done, that's cool. But we'll carry on with it and take it from there. But generally, 1-day cricket, you don't want to be too slow. you want to be at the stumps, because that's going to bring most modes of dismissals. And also, if the batter has to look to score, he has to take risk, either go across it or create more room to hit it inside out. So want to be really tight on the stumps and turn from there.
Well, Paul, it's been an absolutely fascinating chat. Some amazing tips for wrist spinners of all levels. You've got your academy. Do you want to give that a plug as well for those that potentially want to get in touch with you? How can they do that? We'll put any links in the description of this video.
Yeah, thanks. I've started Paul Adams coaching just now, and it's quite late in my coaching, but it's something I'm wanting to do all the years, and I'm going around South Africa currently at the moment, putting up spin bowling clinics. But it's also just not about spin bowling. It's me just exploring the game of cricket to young cricketers and using all the knowledge I've gathered over the past few years, and just giving it to the people. I've become a more of a consultant, and now I've got a bit more time. So it's something new that I've kicked off, and it's really going well. People have been receptive, and it's been great. So people can go to my social media handles, Paul Adams 39, either on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on TikTok. All of those things. So there's often videos and clips advertising when I'm around in different cities. I've actually got a cricketer coming down from the UK in May that's made contact through LinkedIn to work with them as well down to Cape Town, and we're going to spend a week together and work on this spin bowling. So it's sort of creating this whole world of its own at the moment. I could be going to India, do some clinics there, so it's quite fun. Very different, as I've always been part of a franchise or a team. But yeah, it's been really cool, and I'm enjoying this journey as something new for me and exploring.
Yeah, we'll put all the links for all those handles in the description of this video. But Paul, just to round off this chat, if a young player did come to you for your best piece of advice on wrist spin bowling, what would you tell them?
For me, best advice is just to have that heart, to have that passion, and put that work ethic in, and just love it, and spin the ball as hard as you can. That's all you can give, really, and you'll have natural ability. And the big work ethic is about getting it accurate, making sure all your ducks are in a row and understanding what you want to do. But spinning it hard, and you'll go a long way.
Paul, perfect. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, and take care.
Our stories with me, Neil Kagram. Today at the Oval, we're joined by Nathan Sowter. Nathan, how's it all going?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me.
How's the 100 been for you so far?
Yeah, it's been a blast so far. It's started off really well. We've got a few games left, so we'll see where we end up.
Just going to give a few tips for aspiring leg spinners. Does it all start with the grip? And obviously there's a lot of variations that go into it, but maybe you can just show, maybe for a young player that wants to get into the art, the traditional grip.
Yeah, for me, I hold it, I think, a little bit different to some because I've got quite a small hand. So for me, I go 2 fingers up. I use my thumb a lot, but that finger, you're trying to lock against the seam, which I struggle to do a little bit. But you can kind of see there, that's the kind of traditional grip, but I kind of keep mine a little bit more open so I can use a little bit more of my, obviously, fingers and wrist to get that rip off the ball.
And what about the variations? As I said, a lot of people see, for example, on TV, the great Shane Warne, in modern white ball cricket, Adil Rashid, etc., the Googlies, sliders, flippers, etc. Do you have that in your bag of armoury?
I've got a couple of sliders, I've got a Googly, I've got a couple of grips for the Googly, so I go one where I use this one finger against the seam like that, and then I'll flick it out like so. But yeah, I have another one where I lock that third finger in there as well, so I can get over, again, try to throw a bigger Googly, really.
When would you actually implement that in, say, a white ball game?
I like to try to get it out nice and early, just to let the batter see it early, so I can then use it whenever I feel like to take a wicket, really. It's more of an attacking weapon for myself.
And if a youngster, say, wants to practice those kind of things, any tips you can give?
Always think about your back of your hand towards 45, or to past the keeper's left shoulder. That's what I kind of think about. That's how I kind of learn it. I learned it by another ball where it had numbers on it. So you used to have 1, 2, and then 3 with the thumb, or then the 4, that finger as well. And then think in the back of the hand towards towards the keeper or just past the keeper's left shoulder, like I said before.
How does arm positions differ for those various deliveries?
I try not to differ it too much. As in, like, sometimes thinking when I play at the Oval, I try to get my googly to be a bit lower so it skids. Trying to get a bit higher on other grounds and it's a bit more bounce to get that variation. But yeah, I don't play around with it too much.
And the slider?
The slider, I have pretty traditional grip, and I take that finger off the seam there and I'll push it off the lever. So it comes out looking like nearly like that kind of rotation. So then hopefully if it misses the seam, it'll skid on that way, but if it hits the seam, sometimes it'll still turn a bit like a leg break. So just playing around with your grip sometimes and you just flick it out the front, essentially. But also have another one, again, like the googly, similar grip to the googly, but I push so it comes out the front more or like off the side of my hand. Just depends how I want to bowl it, really. It depends, like we talked about the wickets, it might be a bit more grippy, so I'll flick it, so try to catch the seam and maybe it turns still, but it'll be always a bit quicker out the front. And then otherwise you're trying to catch the lever with the other grip, so it drifts.
And what about the actual bowling action? When people talk about fast bowling, they mention brace front leg and going over the top. I've heard similar stuff said about leg spinners.
Yeah, a little bit similar. I think for me it's about accelerating as soon as my front foot hits, accelerating to whip over the top and drive and pivot. But yeah, I think it's very similar, as in like the mechanics of it is like the jump, not trying to twist too early, not turning your body too early before you take off, really.
And then when it comes to, say, run up and then positioning at crease, if someone is just new to it, how would you explain it to them and how they should go about it, etc.?
I'd say start at the crease and then work your way back rather than start back and come forward, if that makes sense. So I always think about, if I'm like, go back to my basics, I'm work from the crease, bowl leggy, take a couple of steps back, bowl one, and then find a nice rhythm which works for you, which gives you the maximum spin. That's what I think. If I have to run up off 10 steps to get the ball to spin this much, or if I come off 2 steps and it spins that much, I just think whatever works for you, you just got to find the happy medium, really.
And I hear a lot of commentators say you've got to find the right pace on a pitch. For laymen such as myself, what does that actually mean, and how do you, as a professional spinner, find that?
Yeah, it can be hard some nights. I think you can get an early read, even off the seamers. If the ball like sitting in the wicket a bit, you probably can be a bit slower. If it's skidding on, you can obviously then decide what pace you want to bowl, really. So for me, I just try to watch as much balls off the wicket as possible early on and try to get a read. And then obviously the first one I always kind of start a little bit quicker and see how that reacts, and then drop my pace back from there once I've settled in a bit, so I can get the pace of the wicket that way.
And then when it comes to the mental side of it, spinners, it's just all part of it in terms of getting hit out the park. Is it about just having that big heart and coming back ball after ball?
Yeah, I think you just got to take it with a bit of pinch of salt. Some days you can bowl a really nice ball and end up about 10 rows back, and then you can bowl a full toss and it gets caught at long on. So I think you just kind of have to roll with the punches, really.
And the tactical side of things, how does it differ from red to white ball cricket?
Obviously pace is key. I think in white ball cricket you're trying to drive the ball into the wicket a bit more these days, where red ball you're going up and down. So for me it's just like always it's about landing in an area. It's how you get it into the area. Some days you're going to go up into the area, even in white ball, but mainly red ball you're going to go up into that area rather than white ball you're driving right into that area, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Nathan, perfect. Thank you very much.
No dramas.
Thank you.
This is a really, really good drill for leg spinner because spin bowling is the feel. In this drill, you get the feel. So, you know, when you want to spin the ball, you need to hit the finger on the ball. Sometime when you bowl in the match, you don't actually hit the finger every single ball. So let's have a look. When you bowl, from here you can feel it. And try to aim to the stumps. So this way you can control your spin. You can do with the flight as well. You can do flatter. With the leg spin, when you bowl, your back of the hand is facing towards you. But when you bowl the wrong end, this drill is for wrong end, so your back of the hand is facing towards fine leg position. And the ball is coming out from here, but when you bowl leg spin, the ball actually come out from this side of the hand. So in order to do that, some players, they don't have like a flexible wrist, so this is very, very good drill for those who can't bowl wrong end. For those who struggling to bowl wrong end, I would suggest to start with the front on position from here, and once you spin few wrong ends, then you can get onto side on position. This drill is really, really good for your balance, your action, your back foot landing, your front foot landing, and your arm position, your head position, everything. So I would say this drill is all in one if you want to improve your leg spin bowling. So step one, you can stand up here. Make sure wherever the way you are landing your back foot, you need to get to this position. If you have a mix action, you can stand up here. If you have a side on action, your back foot is facing here. And if you are front on, you can stand like this. You can get to the load position, then front foot landing, your arm is here, and then you can bowl like this. Step one here, then two, then three, and release position. This is a really, really good drill for wrist spinner, because in this drill, you stand parallel and then you move your hip drive. For wrist spinner, hip drive is very important. There are two types of leg spinners. For example, Shane Warne, Shahid Afridi, they have a high hip drive from here. And then if you see Rashid Khan, Imran Tahir, they have low hip drive. But the common thing is all the wrist spinners, they bowl with a hip as well, so which is very important. And this is the difference between finger spinner and wrist spinner. Wrist spinner actually move their wrist, and finger spinner go up and over. So in this drill, you can practice the wrong end, but please note, if you don't bowl the wrong end, don't practice this, because it can, disturb your leg spin, or maybe you break the wrist. So if you bowl the wrong end, then you can do exactly the same way from here, and then you can bowl like. Okay, so in this drill, you actually tick in all the boxes: tactical, technical, physical, and mental side of the game. So very simple drill. You need to, if you're a right arm bowler, then you need to jump on the left leg. So you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cones. So you go from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so this drill is really, really good for those who can't actually bowl with a flight, and good for your wrist position as well. So your wrist will get very strong. Even you practice for a few months, you will see the difference. All you need to do, you can stand up at the crease, whatever your length is, 19, 17, or 22. You can put your left hand here, and then you can bowl like this. Here. You can see the spin with the flight. This drill is, about how to use the crease. You can see the stumps there. So you need to hit the actual stumps, and you can see another stump on the popping crease. So make sure you don't hit the stumps on the popping crease and hit the actual stumps, 3 stumps. And how are you going to do that? You create angles. So let's say if you're bowling close to the stumps or middle of the stumps, there is a very less chances you will hit the actual stumps. So in this drill, what I'm going to do, I will go wide of the crease and then try to hit the stumps, either left side or right side.